When Boosie called T.I. a rat, everyone thought it was just another rap beef. But the moment he dragged T.I.'s son King Harris into it, the story took a turn no one saw coming. This isn't just rap beef anymore, it's a family war. And the biggest question now is, will King Harris finally speak out and tell his side of the story? On one side, T.I., a rap legend and father who claims he's only protecting his kids. On the other, Boosie, accusing him of toxic parenting. And caught in the middle is King Harris, who might just become his father's biggest critic. You think rap beef is only about diss tracks and music? Think again. Because this fight has hit the most personal place of all family. And now, all eyes are on King Harris. When T.I. admitted to controlling his daughter's private life, the internet exploded. Now, Boosie points to King Harris as proof that T.I.'s parenting is toxic. The question is, will King stand with his father or against him? The story around T.I. and his son King Harris has been heating up, and not just because of music industry drama. What started as a back and forth between T.I. and fellow rapper Boosie Badazz has now turned into something much deeper, pulling King directly into the spotlight. And the real question people are asking is, what happens if King decides to tell his side of the story? Let's take a step back. Boosie has always been the type of artist who says exactly what's on his mind, no matter who it offends. In his world, loyalty and authenticity aren't just nice traits, they're everything. If he feels someone is being fake or stepping out of line, he doesn't hesitate to call them out. Over the years, he's gone after fellow rappers, industry insiders, even friends he once considered close. To him, keeping it real is the only way to survive in the game. Recently, that unfiltered honesty was aimed directly at T.I. For Boosie, the issue wasn't just about music or street credibility, it was deeper than that. He questioned T.I.'s role as a father, focusing on how he handled his kids, especially his son, King. The criticism struck a nerve because it tapped into old wounds from years earlier, when T.I.'s controversial parenting choices with his daughter made headlines and drew nationwide backlash. The accusations Boosie raised weren't small. He painted T.I. as controlling and even abusive, someone more interested in monitoring and dominating his children than guiding them with trust. For anyone who remembered the uproar about T.I. admitting he took his daughter to the gynecologist to check her virginity, the parallels were clear. Once again, the spotlight was on T.I. not as a rapper or a businessman, but as a father whose methods seemed outdated and damaging. When those old stories resurfaced, the conversation online exploded. People debated whether T.I.'s behavior came from a place of love or control. Critics argued that his approach blurred the line between protecting his children and treating them like possessions. Supporters, however, defended him, saying he was simply doing what he thought was necessary to keep his kids safe in a dangerous world. But Boosie's words carried extra weight because they came from someone who shares T.I.'s background and values. Boosie isn't an outsider looking in, he's lived the same culture, fought the same battles, and raised kids of his own in the public eye. For him to accuse T.I. of crossing the line wasn't just criticism, it was a cultural challenge, a statement that the way T.I. parented wasn't just questionable, it was wrong. And King became the center of it all. His clashes with his father have already made headlines, from tense arguments caught on video to public blow-ups that spilled onto social media. For many observers, King's rebellious streak wasn't just teenage drama, it looked like the reaction of a young man desperate to carve out his own identity while living under the shadow of his famous father. Boosie's criticism made people see those moments in a new light. Was King acting out simply because of normal growing pains, or was he pushing back against years of control and surveillance? The fallout from Boosie's comments spread quickly. Fans and bloggers dug up old clips of T.I. explaining his parenting style, comparing them to King's recent behavior. They pointed out that Deja, T.I.'s daughter, had once unfollowed her father and pulled away from social media after he shared private details about her life. Now, King seemed to be struggling in his own way, caught between fame, freedom, and a father who couldn't stop micromanaging his choices. To many, this wasn't just about one family, it was about a bigger conversation in hip-hop culture and in Black families more broadly. What does protection look like? At what point does discipline turn into control? How much privacy should children, especially those raised in the spotlight, be given? T.I.'s story became a case study for these questions, and Boosie's boldness pushed the debate even further. Boosie himself wasn't free from criticism. Some accused him of being hypocritical, pointing out moments in his own past where he seemed to blur lines as a parent. But others saw his willingness to challenge T.I. as refreshing, proof that even within hip-hop, conversations about parenting, respect, and boundaries were evolving. For T.I., The sting wasn't just in the words, but in who they came from. He and Boosie had once shared stages, collaborated, and spoken about family values in interviews. To hear someone he considered a peer attack his parenting in such a personal way forced T.I. to defend himself yet again. On platforms like podcasts and interviews, he insisted his actions came from love and responsibility, not control. He admitted mistakes, yes, but rejected the idea that he was abusive. Still, the damage had been done. Once the internet decides to revisit an old controversy, the story takes on a life of its own. Memes, reaction videos, and think pieces spread everywhere, all framing T.I. as a father at war with his own children. And as much as he tried to clarify, every new statement only seemed to add fuel to the fire. At the center of all this remained King, trying to find his way as an artist under the stage name Kid Sean. His pursuit of independence, through music, through rebellion, through public missteps, now looked even more complicated in light of the ongoing feud between Boosie and his dad. Every performance, every arrest, every outburst seemed to carry more weight because of the question hanging over it. Is this really King being king, or is this the fallout of growing up under too much control? The truth, of course, lies somewhere in between. Parenting is messy, and in the glare of fame, it's even messier. T.I. loves his children, there's no doubt about that. But love tangled with control can create wounds that take years to heal. Boosie's challenge may have been harsh, but it forced fans to confront an uncomfortable reality. Even our heroes, the people we admire for their strength and success, can deeply struggle when it comes to family. In the end, the story of T.I., King, and Boosie isn't just about gossip or drama. It's about the collision of culture, reputation, and parenthood. It's about how the desire to protect can sometimes backfire, leaving scars instead of safety. And most of all, it's a reminder that in hip-hop, as in life, authenticity comes not just from keeping it real with the world, but from being honest about the battles we face at home. This wasn't just another rap beef, it felt personal, and it cut into family territory. Boosie didn't just call out T.I. for music or street credibility. He went straight for the kind of accusations that sting the deepest, questioning T.I.'s loyalty, his choices, and even his parenting. The first shot came when Boosie revisited T.I.'s own words about a gun case from years back. T.I. once admitted that, after his cousin had passed away, he put the case on him. To T.I., the situation seemed like a practical solution. His cousin was gone, the legal heat would disappear, and life could move forward. But for Boosie, this was no different than cooperating with law enforcement. He saw it as crossing a line that should never be crossed in street culture. If you tell to save yourself, Boosie said, you're a rat. It was blunt, sharp, and unforgiving. In the rap world, being called a rat is about the worst label anyone can get. It's not just an insult, it can destroy reputations built over decades. For T.I., who built his career on respect and resilience, those words carried the weight of betrayal. But Boosie didn't stop there. He took it further, moving beyond street politics and into T.I.'s personal life. He criticized T.I. as a father, pointing to King as the evidence of his failures. In Boosie's eyes, the way T.I. raised his son created more problems than it solved. King's rebellious streak, his brushes with the law, and his public clashes with his dad were, to Boosie, not signs of a kid acting out, but signs of a father losing control. This part of Boosie's criticism hit differently. Rap beefs come and go, and accusations about loyalty are common in hip-hop culture. But questioning someone's family, their parenting, and the bond with their children, that cuts deep. It's not just about credibility anymore. It's about legacy, about what kind of man you are when the spotlight fades. For fans, it was a reminder that this feud wasn't only about old cases or street codes. It was about two fathers with very different views on parenting, manhood, and reputation. T.I. has always been outspoken about protecting and guiding his kids, even when his methods sparked controversy. From Deja's situation years ago to his confrontations with King, his style has leaned heavily toward control and discipline. Boosie, however, saw those same choices as proof that T.I. was pushing his children away instead of bringing them closer. The fallout was immediate. Clips of Boosie's comments spread online and debates erupted. Was T.I. wrong for his past choices? Was Boosie crossing the line by dragging King into it? Fans were split, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just a rap battle. This was a clash of values, family pride, and reputations that ran deeper than music. In the end, Boosie's words forced T.I. into a position no artist wants, defending not just his name, but his role as a father. Meanwhile, King Harris was carving out his own identity. Unlike his father, King grew up with fame and privilege. He was born in 2004, and by the time he was 7, he was already a familiar face thanks to the family's VH1 reality show T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. But growing up on camera came with its own struggles. King never wanted to be seen as just the privileged son of a rap legend. He wanted street credibility, and that's where the trouble started. In September 2024, things reached a breaking point. A music video shoot featuring King and Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, turned into something way bigger when both T.I. and Boosie showed up unexpectedly. They weren't there to support the shoot, they came to check their sons for having guns on set. The moment was caught on camera, and when it hit social media, it spread fast. What made the video so powerful wasn't just the confrontation. It was the image of two rap veterans who had been beefing themselves, suddenly standing side by side to protect their sons. For once, old rivalries didn't matter. All that mattered was stopping their kids from repeating the same mistakes they had once made. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Both T.I. and Boosie built careers rapping about street life, yet here they were trying to keep their sons from getting caught up in it. It showed just how complicated parenting becomes when your own past is full of lessons you don't want your kids to repeat. But things didn't calm down after that. Just a month later, in October 2024, King was arrested in Georgia on an outstanding warrant. The body cam footage of the arrest only fueled the conversation, making it look like his father's warnings had come true. For T.I. and King, the tension was nothing new. Their relationship has been messy for years, playing out in front of millions online. In 2023, they even got into a heated argument at a football game, where King clapped back at T.I. for calling his upbringing privileged. King insisted he never had a silver spoon, even though the world saw him growing up in a mansion. That moment summed up their struggle, a young man desperate to prove he's real, while his father tried to remind him he had opportunities others could only dream of. What makes all of this so complicated is the bigger picture. Children of hip-hop legends often grow up under a different kind of pressure. Their fathers built reputations on struggle and survival, but the kids grew up with access and luxury. Balancing those two realities, privilege versus authenticity, creates friction. King Harris is living proof of that. So now, with Boosie calling T.I. out and King hinting that he might expose more, this family story is no longer just about music or reputation. It's about legacy, identity, and the painful generational clashes that play out when fame, family, and the streets collide. King Harris has often insisted that he spent more time at his grandmother's house than behind the gates of his father's mansion. To him, that was proof he wasn't living the sheltered, polished lifestyle people assumed. He wanted to be outside, around the neighborhood, not tucked away in luxury. For King, it was about searching for authenticity, the kind of grit and experience that so many second-generation kids of hip-hop stars crave. But T.I. didn't see it that way. When his son claimed he avoided the gated life, the rapper quickly clapped back. In T.I.'s view, King wasn't chasing real struggle, he was romanticizing it. Having lived through poverty, arrests, and federal charges himself, T.I. felt frustrated that his son wanted to taste the very hardships he had fought so hard to escape. "Let me tell you why he wanted to be at his grandma's house," T.I. said. "Because he was pacified there. He was 12 years old." That exchange revealed something bigger than a simple family argument. It spoke to a tension that many celebrity families face: protection versus authenticity. Parents like T.I. grind for years to give their kids safety and opportunities, only to find that those same kids feel disconnected from the struggle that built the family name. King's defiance is less about rejecting his father and more about rejecting inherited privilege. His brushes with the law, arrests in 2022 and again in 2024, fit into that pattern. They look like attempts to prove he's not just the son of a famous rapper, but someone carving out his own path, even if it's reckless. The public reaction has been a mix of tough love and genuine concern. Some people crack jokes, others shake their heads, but everyone seems to understand the weight of his choices. T.I., for his part, has often handled their complicated bond with humor. In September 2024, while announcing that King was about to become a father, he joked during a radio interview, "I'm going to raise this child to torture you the way you tortured me." It was funny, but it also revealed something real about the cycles families go through, the way struggles echo across generations. The infamous music video intervention earlier that same month wasn't just about T.I. and Boosie checking their sons for having guns on set. It was the climax of years of tension between father and son. T.I. wasn't only reacting to one incident, he was reacting to a lifetime of watching King push back against the very lessons he had tried to teach him. And in the digital age, nothing stays private. Their fights, reconciliations, and court appearances play out on Instagram, in leaked footage, and even on reality TV. When King was arrested in October 2024, the body cam video hit the internet almost immediately, making their family struggles everyone's business. What makes this relationship so layered is the mirror effect. T.I. himself has admitted, "That's my twin." He sees his own rebellious past in King's behavior. That creates both empathy and exasperation. He understands the road his son is walking, but he also knows where it can lead. "He's going to have to find out," T.I. said. "I've been down that road. I'm trying to tell him so he doesn't go down it too." Parent hopes to break. Back in 2019, T.I. set off one of the biggest controversies of his career when he admitted that he used to attend his daughter Deja's gynecology appointments to check her virginity. He described asking doctors for results, even putting sticky notes on her door as reminders. What he thought was protection quickly came across as something else, an invasion of privacy rooted in control, not care. The backlash was instant. Critics slammed him for pushing harmful myths about virginity and for treating his daughter more like property than a young woman. Deja herself later revealed how hurtful and humiliating the experience was. She unfollowed her father on social media, eventually deactivating her account altogether, a clear signal that his protection had done more harm than good. T.I. tried to walk it back on Red Table Talk, saying he exaggerated for effect. But by then, the damage was done. What the world saw was a pattern, a father who loved his kids, but who often confused guidance with control. And that pattern didn't stop with Deja, it resurfaced in his relationship with King. When T.I. showed up at King's music video set in 2024 to check him for having guns around, many saw it as just another dad trying to keep his son safe. But in context, it looked like a continuation of the same overbearing parenting style. Instead of giving his kids room to make mistakes and grow, T.I. often tried to enforce boundaries by force. Not everyone in the hip-hop community condemned him. Some, like Boosie Badass, even defended his actions, saying, "That's what a dad's supposed to do." Their support reflected how certain controlling behaviors still get normalized in parts of the culture, especially when framed as protection. But for King, the story was more complicated. Growing up in privilege while trying to build his own identity, he often rebelled against his father's grip. His arrests in 2022 and 2024 highlighted how far he was willing to push back. Ironically, those very moments forced him to grow up. In his October 2024 arrest, King was seen on leaked body cam footage calmly asking about lawyers and bail, showing a maturity not always present in his public persona. For T.I., it was a painful mirror. He has admitted that King is his twin, reflection of his own rebellious youth. That recognition brings both empathy and frustration. He understands the road King is walking, but he also knows exactly where it can lead. His attempts to steer King away from those choices often come across as controlling, even when rooted in love. The broader lesson here isn't just about one family. It's about hip-hop's complicated relationship with masculinity, fatherhood, and protection. T.I.'s story shows how easy it is for care to cross into control, and how that can damage the very relationships it's meant to preserve. In Deja's case, it pushed her away. In King's case, it fueled rebellion. But both stories speak to the same theme. The line between protection and possession is thin, and when parents blur it, children often pay the price. Today, things seem to be shifting. King becoming a father himself in late 2024 has given him new perspective, and some say it's brought him closer to T.I. Meanwhile, the family has quietly moved past the Deja controversy, though the lessons from it still hang in the background. At its heart, the Harris family's journey is a story of love, mistakes, and growth, one that plays out in the public eye because of who they are, but which resonates far beyond celebrity culture. It's a reminder that protecting your kids doesn't mean owning them, and that sometimes the hardest part of parenting is learning when to let go.